Hello, hello, Beth here. Welcome to the Dagmar and Beth show, only Beth so far. I hope Dagmar is on her way. And we can just wait for a few people to come on. If you're in one of the chats on Facebook or YouTube or X or Rumble, please join in the chat. Let me know that you're here. Be nice to say hi to you. Today we're going to be talking about the queen archetype, which is one that you might notice doesn't come up much in my lexicon. I almost don't say that word for a few different reasons. And yes, we'll just wait around and see if some people want to jump on and jump in and have a little chat before Dagmar gets here. I don't know, maybe we had some confusion about the time zones or something like that. Are we coming up to time zone season where things change? I think it's pretty close now. Is it not like the equinox or something like that where they mess us up again? And yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see how this goes. Anybody out there? Hello, hello. It's Patricia's here. Nice to see you. Greetings and blessings from Kingsville, Ontario, Canada. Nice. Kingsville. I don't know exactly where that is. It's a big province. So yeah, I'm not sure, but really nice to meet you, Patricia. Great. Glad you're here for Yin on the Rocks. And it's funny when people look at that. What does that make you think it means? Yin on the Rocks. I'm curious what it sounds like to you guys. Garrett Smith, I was listening to his live stream the other day on Nutrition Detective, and he did a shout out and he wanted to say the name of the podcast. And he's like, Yin on the Rocks? Is that a typo? It's like, nope, it's not a typo. And there we are live on Rumble. So we'll see if anyone wants to come on there. I changed the embedded video at my website to be Rumble for a change. I don't know if I should have left that as a YouTube video for any reason, if that helps to get more traction. I'm not sure. Kingsville is the most southern town in Ontario. Oh, okay, good to know. The most southern. So you might be close to, obviously, the U.S. border. Do you have a border crossing there in Kingsville? We have one pretty close here, and about maybe 45-minute drive. You can get there. It's not too bad. I have to go there more and more. I'm finding things that I want out there that I need, and you can't get them in Canada, or you can't get them easily. So I have to do a border run, which is not my favorite thing to do. I guess, was it more than a year ago already? I ended up with a marked passport because we had a weird incident at the border. And it looks like, let's see, Dagmar's trying to get into the stream, and I'll have to reshare the link with her. So there it goes. So she might be here. Looks like she's trying to come. And you're about 30 miles southeast of Detroit, Michigan. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah, I hear Detroit is kind of dodgy. Everything's dodgy. There was a video that just came out about Winnipeg in particular, a 45-minute documentary on they're calling us now the most violent city in the country. So that's a good status to have. We always were the murder capital of Canada, so that's not really new, but there's something kind of interesting about that. And then it looks like Dagmar's in the room, so you can just give me a heads up when you're all ready back there, or a wave. Okay, the wave works. All right. Hey, Dagmar, how's it going?
Good.
I was going to see you today.
The technical god.
The technical god. Yeah. StreamYard's pretty good. It doesn't require too much. You just click on it, and then it gets you right to the right website. But yeah, it must have been some issue of some kind. So yeah, we just came from lunch. We're celebrating one of the people that I farm with, his birthday. And we had some normal food. I haven't eaten a lot of normal food like ever, almost. And it's not good, actually. Like it tasted okay, but yeah, I'm just noticing how it's sitting in my body right now. It's like, not as good. Yeah.
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 Haven't done that for a long time either.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. My tongue has been completely cultured to good food. Go figure how that goes. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if you had a chance to send this out to anybody, but it's not too late to do a last minute shout around. And I was just saying we're going to be talking about raising the queen today, an archetype that you don't hear me talk much about at all, like at all. And I think to start it off, I would say I even became allergic to the word queen because it got completely taken over by the transgender kind of
I
a
know.
world.
Yeah. I know. It just drives me crazy when somebody says, "Ah, my queen," on all these series that they have. People are using this new language, and they're just kind of co-opting all these great words, and they're ruining them.
Yeah, they stole all the words. That's what I noticed, especially all the good ones. Yeah. So welcome to anyone who's joining. Come in the chat and say hello. And the more interactive this is, the more interesting it can be. So don't hesitate if you have anything to chime in or you want to share about. And yes, we were going to talk about the gifts and the shadows. No archetype is all one way. Quietly content, Baird. Hello, nice to see you. Glad to have you here. And so there's always going to be the strengths and the pitfalls that when the way that I've learned to look at it or have experienced it inside myself is that I'll call an archetype awakened. We lack for words, but I'll call it awakened when it's not as much in the unconscious and it's something that you can use as a tool or a color or a flavor or a way of being that's going to suit your purposes. And then when it goes into the unconscious, it becomes often something that you're trying to get away from, that maybe you've learned to hate for one reason or another. Maybe that's why they steal words or steal entire archetypes and rebrand them. We are here rebranding the unknown, by the way. That's totally different kind of thing. And so it just becomes this mishmash in our heads of attractions and aversions to certain things. And then the more, in my experience, the more you suppress an archetype, the more it screams for attention, tries to get your attention. It probably tries to get everybody around you's attention too, because it's trying to come to the light of day.
It's interesting you said like rebranding the unknown. And in this discussion, I feel like we might touch on rebranding feeling itself, which to me is more of a strength of the queen, is the capacity to feel, not emote. I'm not talking about emoting, which is very different, because feeling is something you can do and be completely still and be feeling, not saying anything, but it's the capacity to feel, which I think is where empathy comes from and all of that kind of cool stuff, compassion. Um, and yeah, so it's like rebranding feeling, because it's also been like, oh, feelings, it's just something that when you have so much of them, you got to let them go. And people say, well, I'm just being myself.
Don't you love it?
Yeah, it's like, come on. What do you think? I
for you?
can't be myself around you?
Right.
Which is very different than allowing the feeling that all that stuff is actually on top of the I'm just being myself.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a really great distinction. We should definitely dive in with that first, even. Hello, Maya. Nice to see you. So glad you're here.
Oh
That's
my
awesome.
God.
Yeah, you're on my radar. I'd like to connect soon. And so that the difference between, I like how you said it, feeling and emoting.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say are the main differences between those two?
I'm thinking that, yeah, I always think in terms of actors, people who demonstrate that really well. And I'm thinking someone like Anthony Quinn. I don't know, this may be dating most young people. They're like, Anthony who? Anthony Quinn, or who else? Marlon Brando. They could run feeling through their instrument without it being all over the place. They weren't trying to show that they are feeling. They are actually feeling. And
And it shows.
yeah, right. And it shows because I from my acting background, I really feel that the camera is like the eye of God, that it has the capacity to pick up light that our everyday eye may not pick up. So because I've seen it with some actors who you just meet them and they're like, whatever, like, just you don't even, you may not notice them, but the moment the camera is on them, it picks up something. Like some people, it's like one of those secret languages between whatever photography and camera, and it looks different on video as opposed to like film. They can get into all kinds of alchemical things with that. But um, yeah, so I would say that a lot of, like, let's say a soap opera actor as compared to Anthony Quinn, like a soap opera actor who I call that like ass feelings, like expurgating, they're just like coming out your ass, it's just like, I'm going to show I'm so angry, or like, oh my God, I'm so, which is very, you could have a weeping mother who you're watching and you're just going, come on, stop it. Or you could have a weeping mother may have the same actions, but if it's run on feeling, not on ass energy, um, then we connect and we resonate with it. The same way like when you have you hit a string on a piano and you have a guitar string somewhere, right? It'll create a resonance. They'll start to resonate together. And I think that in all, good art or just good living, when you're around people who are true to being able to, like what you started with saying, that if you recognize this archetype, you have access to it. It's just another letter in the vocabulary of your life language, that you have access to various archetypes, that they're not, the gods aren't forced to make grand, disturbing landings in your life just to let you know that they exist. Which, in the past, that's what actors were really supposed to be doing. They would go from village to village and they could sense what's something, that what archetype are people just completely not connecting with, and they would enact that out and put it out, in front of the fire, and allow that archetype to move through them. So in a way it would be healing the people, because they would then have access to a certain energetic, like they get a template of a certain archetype, but it's always a tricky thing, like even in like acting. And I'm sorry I keep bringing it to acting and writing, acting and writing, but that's like my world, right? But it's never black and white, like what you were saying when we were having our phone conversation. And it's not just one thing. It's not just, this is only one little archetype that's moving through you. They overlay, they connect, they weave. There's relationships between them, and in a way they kind of may transform. Like my crone archetype, let's say, when I was 5 years old, was very different than my crone now. But I had a crone even when I was 5. I'd walk around, pretending to be grandma, and if people bothered me, I might say, I'm going to put a spell on you.
Funny.
So yeah, so the difference between like soap opera acting and just like really good, you can see the difference between emoting and actual feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so interesting that feeling is one of those things that I think has been, I say it too much, but I'll say it like, very extremely weaponized against us. And our controllers are very aware that our feelings can be manipulated, that you can go from feeling one way. Like, wasn't that the big discovery of Walt Disney, where he could take an animated cartoon and have people cry over it when it's just some squiggles on the screen? But here people are going, "Ooh," like this, right? And so we're a little bit like babies, and we also have not been trained in our in what they are, or how to, certainly not how to manage them. Nobody gets any training. This should all be kindergarten. I always say that I'll be out of work when people finally realize, like, yeah, it requires some learning to be able to work with them. And then two things happened, right? The feelings in response to, say, generations past that maybe didn't even have the luxury of feeling. It was all survival mode, and there was no questioning, like, should you be so angry? Should you anything? There was no, it was just like, hey, where's the food and the shelter, and who's trying to kill us? And in a way, we're among the first generation that has the luxury of exploring that. And so one of the things that happened in response to it is feelings became themselves aggrandized, like they are so important, they are so great. And that, that phrase, oh, you have the right to be angry, you're right to be angry because this happened and you should feel that. And so that's like one part of the psyop. And then the other part of the psyop is that because so many people are damaged and traumatized, and even the most normal life could be right from birth, there's a series of major insults to life. We became allergic to our feelings. We became, because there's so much pain and so much suffering that from what my observation, most people suppress and push away and intellectualize away any kind of felt experience. So you've got these two extremes of like the false aggrandizement of the feelings, and then the avoidance, and it's not like you can't get away from them. It's a pushing down into your own unconscious. They don't really go away. In fact, you energize them by suppressing them. And I also want to just follow up on something that you said, like how the feelings are. You didn't quite say this, but I made the association anyway, so you can see if you can riff on this at all. And I want to share one thing about my grandma too. That feelings could be maybe looked to, or archetypes might be looked to as gods, right? Like that they were somehow having power over us. And I heard this distinction that, like the true meaning of God is guide,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not to rule over and dominate and, micromanage everything that the people are doing. But, it just opening for the first time that thought around feelings being a guide, being a kind of map. That's how I work with the archetypes as maps, the feelings as a map, and then to find where you are, so you can be where you are, and start from where you are. Because if you start from somewhere you're not, then you're just in the realm of fiction. And then yeah, that I picked up very early, just riffing on your comment about playing your grandmother, that my grandma had the phrase, "Don't eat my pachinko." Do you know what the pachinko is?
No. What is a pachenka?
Can you guess which body part is very
Oh,
popular?
that's what I immediately thought. That was my first thought. Of
Yeah.
course, my patata is one.
Oh,
don't eat my yeah.
yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah, word for
Oh,
the liver. And that was one of my earliest phrases too. It was in my head, and it's something that I picked up. So yeah. Anyway, I was just gonna.
oh, pechenka. Oh, you mean liver?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I was going somewhere completely different with that. Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and that's a good one. Yeah, that's a very old country one. But okay, here's my thought though about um, people then and people now, and that yeah, we have more time and capacity, and we're safer than people ever were, or the capacity to be safer than people ever were in terms of having our immediate survival needs taken care of. But I really think that nothing has changed in the sense that this capacity to feel is, I feel like what you're saying, it's like a language, it's a communication form, it is a I don't see us as like Now, you can take advantage of this, which is like what you were saying, what Disney did and what Spielberg does. I mean, a lot of these directors, they take it, but they're not taking advantage of anybody who is stupid or just easily controllable. They're taking advantage of a person who is a full person. So it's like the more that so-called, whatever you want to call it, whether it's the guides that come through the form of archetypes, or whether it's just like in us already from the moment we're born, that is what it's the language before language, this language that comes out of the mouth, that there is, it's just, what Shakespeare said, know thyself. That this is what this is about. What you're pointing to also is that once you know all these archetypes that are part of you, you can choose, like, am I going to cry at this Spielberg movie? Am I going to let that happen? Or am I just going to be like, oh yeah, no, this isn't worth the cry, but because I'm just being kind of, I can feel that, oh no, you're manipulating me. This isn't worth the energy and the life force moving through me to shed a tear. But shedding a tear is one of the greatest gifts we have, it's the flow. To me, that is a big part of the queen. The flow, the ability to feel and to keep having greater and greater capacity to feel. And in order to have a greater capacity, you have to feel, to build that capacity. In a way, like, we have to raise ourselves into queenhood, and it's never a stationary thing. It's not like, oh yeah, now I'm a queen forever and ever. No. You can go from queen back to the journey of being a queen, which always has to include some of the cinders of Cinderella, the ashes. It's a road, and there's a lot of grief in the process, and there's celebration, and there's what's the word, chutzpah. There's all kinds of things that build that aspect of us. So it's and it changes at different times in our lives too. How, and sometimes it comes as a gift. When something just comes in and you're like, oh my God, I am so full of energy around this, and you can feel which energy it is, and you're like, wow, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So here's an example from last night that, and this is all inquiry. I keep a very open, curious mind rather than concluding too much as if I somehow know everything. But so I had I had a finger issue. I don't know. Should I share all the gory details?
And you know what? If you can't share the gory details, this is. I felt yesterday when you sent me the pictures of your finger. I was like, oh, now we're really friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Showing me the gory stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of ironic because at the time I called it an injury for simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I went into all the gory details, then it was like, it just too long, too much volume, and too much explanation. And especially when I was actually suffering. So I had a growth on my finger, right? And like a child, I never thought much about it. It had been like 10 years, but I just decided to ask Garrett Smith about it. And he said, try this, try that. That those things didn't have any effect. So he sent me to this Amazon black salve. And actually, a lot of people have heard of it.
Yeah.
When I bring it up, about half the people had already known about it. And it is a substance that is banned, or not banned in the U.S. They can still sell to U.S. and but they couldn't operate out of the U.S. anymore. They literally, and the reason being that this stuff works. So it has the effect on growths that are to the medicine considered to be cancerous. Now I'm taking a step back. I was more sure what that was before. Now I'm back in the mystery and in the unknown around it. And so it's just this tiny little pot of salve, and you just put like a pea size on that spot, and it basically, over the course of, it's been a long time now. I bet it's been 6 weeks. The whole hand, um, my body mounted a massive response to this thing that had been on my finger for 10 years. And all of a sudden it was like, like alarm bells going doo 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 like this. That's major attacker in the room, and so something like that, right? That I got this. My whole hand swelled, not just the finger. The finger was easily twice its size, and it was just like this major. I couldn't use the hand. I couldn't do anything with it. I spent the day like holding my own hand, just trying to stay off painkillers. A couple of nights awake from it.
I love that image though.
Of holding my own hands. I know, it's been a theme actually. Yeah, it's been a theme.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then it started to be less swollen in the rest of my hand, and it was focused just on the finger. And then one night I looked down, and it had all of a sudden created a massive container of fluid. And then the next day it broke and it emptied, and the entire dermis on my finger has like an entire layer gone. So this is now like the new thing that was not supposed to be exposed, the new skin underneath it. And then for the next 5 weeks, the medicine continued to work, and it contained all of this wrongs that were there in my body. And it slowly, like the very first thing is it creates this cavitation under it, almost like a cradle, a very obvious cavitation, like a hole, right? And if you disturb the process, you will be left with that hole as a scar. But if you don't disturb it, then your body knows to fill in, so like there's no hole whatsoever. It's a miraculous uh, recovery from a very bad. It'd be easy to think that was bad and wrong. Luckily, there's lots of people that have already done it. There's experience. The company itself will support you. Garrett was supporting me. And it was just okay. So here's the point. Why am I telling you all of this? When it happened, when I looked down and I went, oh my God, because I thought might still be weeks. You don't know how long the whole thing is going to take to completely resolve. And I'm going like, whoa, I'm doing this. And I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, I was so happy that I was rendered useless, right? I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't function. I couldn't clean the kitchen. I couldn't, like do anything of any productivity of any kind. I'd start something and I'd be like, oh, I got to run, look at my finger again. And so, like, of course, we all lust for happiness. Here's the really big thing. And there is a truth in it that we are naturally happy. We are naturally in a state of, now I'll say freedom. It's just the word that was best branded for me in that state. Like that is our true nature. It's not something that you have to create. It's not emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
right. It's not on the scale of feeling. It's off the map, that the freedom itself. And that is not a problem by any means. That's a solution, as far as I'm concerned, to every problem. But that happiness was kind of a problem for me. It's like I was drunk on it.
Interesting. I would say that I would I would say that freedom is a feeling. I don't know. To me, it feels like. Remember, we're going to have the conversation about closing and opening. Like to me, the feeling of freedom is the ability to close and open, close and open, close and open. But to me, I feel it as a feeling. That it's not just that it's a texture, very refined feeling. But I think that there is, feelings that we probably don't have access to in while we're still in the body, but we can have a hint of it. And to me, freedom is one of those feelings, because I feel so many things. To me, freedom is like such a generous channel that it has a joy in it. It has a grief in it. It has a strength in it. It has vulnerability. Um, like it's an unnameable. Like I don't know how to name it, but and maybe it's just semantics, that I still feel that I don't I'm not striving to go beyond feeling, at least not yet. Who knows? I could change, I mean, I'm also very open going on this journey. I'm saying stuff that sounds like I believe it at this moment, but I'm very open to um, finding new ways to look at things, look at the different side of the diamond to look at it.
Right. Yeah. It's a little bit about words, and it's a little bit just the like our senses can't actually tap into it. It's not on the map, right? So then everything that we're designed for feeling, and then never mind the words getting in the way. But so it's not approachable at that level. But we don't need to belabor it. Um, the Yeah, the rising into queenhood, the ashes of Cinderella. I guess like one thing, if we go back to the queen, that I said this a little bit too, how I think one of the main errors that got made, or again some kind of psyop, is around that the queen is just a feminine king.
Mm-hmm.
So that you have these, so the guy is the king, and the girl is the queen that is the king. So they're both the king, but she's just the girl king.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
A woman is not no, a man is not a woman is not a hairy man. I mean, that we only see him from one point of view. It's not,
right,
yeah, yeah,
right, exactly. Maybe that's where we ran into words too, because they called us a woman, and it maybe didn't give uh, do justice to the real difference between masculine and feminine, right? These are, yes, two sides of the same coin, but it's not just the female version of the same thing. It's not like that. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts. Just, I like to go behind the scenes and see what would be the advantage in turning that queen into the female king. Like, what would be the psyop of that? Or is it a just,
yeah. I think the psyop of that would be to weaken both the king and the queen, because if you take the woman out of her queenhood, then she's kind of a big part of her element is like she's putting it down, or the psyop is like, no, 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 this isn't useful in life and in society. And then when a man if he goes to his king space, and then his woman is coming at him with her king space, then for sure they're not going to be interested in embracing each other and having babies. It's going to be butting heads. Like, what can you imagine? Two kings, and the worst part of it is that his king may actually be genuine, but her king may be so built painstakingly through time, trying to make it, how this is what we've been pushed into, like, God, well, I got to take care of myself. I got to handle this, and I got to. And so her king is way more fragile in a way. She can do it, but it doesn't have the same, like, it's part of the, I mean, we have our corpus callosum is way bigger than a man's. So we have a whole different system running ourselves. And so to impose the king, we can do it just like a man can impose the queen on himself, right?
Yeah.
And some do it beautifully. I mean, it's all creative, and it has a beauty of its own, but it's definitely not procreative. So, and I don't have any children, but I think that that's part of the psyop, is to make less procreation be not as enticing as it used to be. And I think, unfortunately, it has been successful. I mean, I'm amazed at how many young couples are just not really interested in each other.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
mean, like the way breathless lovers at that young age could be.
Interesting.
um,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, just to encapsulate what you said, like, it kills the polarity. between the masculine and the feminine when you get that queen trying to be the king, or the king trying to be the queen, which unfortunately does happen, and does flip. I think a lot of women in my generation, our generation, might have the sense that their relationships were all, and I mean, this was around me, that the women were really in control of the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and they would tell the man what to do, and that was pretty common in the lexicon, right? Like that, I'll just tell him that he has to do this and he has to come here, and then they'll complain. I grew up around a lot of women that were complaining about the husbands, that they didn't pick up their socks, and they didn't take out the garbage, and they didn't all of these actually kind of more feminine tasks, right? They didn't change a diaper or anything like that. That was feminism that made us resent the men for not doing the women's work. And then, right,
That will get you canceled right away.
yeah, exactly. And then, that was one of the things that gave birth to the King Hero, was that the recognition, because I had actually, before the King Hero was born, I had worked almost exclusively with women for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was a choice that made sense from a lot of different ways, but I found a ton of unconscious, it's like, well, I don't hate men. It's like, yeah, you do. And, and then really the effect of it is that it has done exactly what you said. It has made women have to put on that archetype of the king.
Yeah, and if think about how now, I don't know where it's at right now. The last time I checked, took the temperature of that culture, that was about 10 years ago. But this whole kind of power goddess movement, where
Yes.
first I was like, oh, this is so great. But then when I got into it and I saw what they were doing, I was like, wait a second, what's going on here? It was more about having authority over the men, not over themselves. And to me, that's the queen energy, to have authority over yourself, not over others. And it was all about, these women were so proud of, like, oh yeah, when I want him to go down on me, I just, yeah, like they're the slave, the minion who does whatever the woman wants him to do. And man, that's a really lonely place, but it's portrayed, on television. Not all the time. There's some places that show the full extent of what that is when you really get into it, how isolating it is and how unsatisfying it is to not experience a man stepping up and being interested in your light.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these things kind of occurred to me, maybe it was 20 years ago, when I noticed that I'm always got my arms full of shit. I was going, like, I'm going in and out of the car, I'm carrying this, and I'm going, what? And how? There's nothing, I can't receive anything, my arms are always busy doing something. So that's when it dawned on me, like, you're like cutting off every man at the knees. Any man who wanted to help me, I was not in any way receptive to. Not on purpose, but by training, kind of, like almost proud, like, oh, I got this. And I'm going, whoa. And maybe it was 25 years ago, because how time flies. Yeah, no, it was 25 years ago. And I was just became so painfully aware how I misunderstood myself. And the very thing that I wanted the most, I was blocking by always being full, and by telling a man, like, if I was cold, I would say, it's really cold in here. Can you get me my sweater? So it was kind of like that, instead of just actually like being in that, and like, not talking it, but living it, like allowing myself, what does it feel like when I'm really cold, if there's a man with me, right? Which there was at the time. And I found out that if I just be cold, if he's a good man, he'll bring me a sweater. And the feeling of that is like, oh my God, it's exquisite. It's a swoon, to allow a man or a boy, I mean, of the son of a friend, to allow them to do what it feels more native to them, and to allow it to receive it, to be open enough to receive it. And because I always thought, like, well, if I need help from people, that means that I'm helpless, or I don't know what I'm doing. But I realized, like, no, I do need help. That's bullshit that I don't need help. And then to allow that to come into my life, even with male friends, um, it's a good way to practice, just being receptive, which to me, that is the queen energy. It's very different than the king energy. It is almost like a sacred receptivity, an ability to not just feel yourself, but feel the whole village. Like, what does everybody need right now?
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a commanding or demanding. It's a I guess I see it as like the queen of hearts, the ultimate receiver. But it's also serving, but in a very different way than a king serves. And that's the thing, is like, it's interesting, if you start serving somebody who is, let's say, a knight or a prince or a clown, uh, it it's very different than serving a king. And the same thing than a king, if he's serving a maiden, or if he's serving a queen, it's a different kind of serving.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a beauty to it. People think that if you're a leader, that means you lead. Well, I think that true leadership in the masculine model, as the king, is the ability to know where the feminine, whether it's the feminine in a woman or the feminine in his dog, where it really wants to go. Like when you're, when you're doing partner dance, that really, I love dancing with like 80-year-old, 85-year-old Cuban men, because they are not showing off. They're feeling the woman, and they, with just a tiny touch of the finger, you can feel they move you so that you get to shine, because they recognize that it's the feminine, that's the light that should be shining. And they kind of lead you where they can feel you really want to go, and suddenly you feel free. And it's a real freedom to be with a leader who truly leads. And then you go with like some 30-year-old guy who starts whipping you around and doing, and pushing you even there, and you're like, oh, he's just a boy. But it's still, you get it. One day he'll learn. But how hard is it for young men to learn, when women, we never give them the signal? When we don't show them how they're whipping you around like that is actually hurts, well, we just kind of tolerate it, instead of, when that happens, to be going like, ah, like to show it, to not say, excuse me, sir, we just danced, but that dance, you really made me feel uncomfortable, and I thought I was going to break my neck. No, that's not gonna get in. Like, to actually show it. And I think that's the part of the feminine, when, that I think the queen has the ability, the freedom to travel the whole gamut of emotions and show it, reveal or teach or guide by showing, not by explaining or commanding or telling.
Mm-hmm.
if that if that makes sense. Like, to just or if you feel disgust, if a man does something that is just like, oh my God, to not just smile, but to literally let the disgust on your face show. And most men, when they see that, that means something to them. They'll be like, oh, okay, that wasn't cool, right? But if they do something amazing, show that too. But don't say it, or, but the showing part, which again takes me back to feeling, and to the body, and to the invisible language, or the or the less spoken about language. Has nothing to do with words. That's more to do with um, feeling and sensation, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Let's see where I was gonna contribute there. Um, yeah, forgive me just for a second. Around, I want to go back to the whole power goddess thing to start,
Mm-hmm.
and around like sexual power became a very big thing, and the we were still very much on the heels of a sexual revolution, and this became like the primary means for controlling a man. That was something that you could wield and manipulate um, and have them cater to us because that was going to give them something. But there was this whole, really, it was just another expression of powering over and depolarizing and deactivating the relationship so that you ended up the king. And then the problem is that when you're that king, you don't respect the queen because he's a man. He's a man, and it's not his true nature, and he's not supposed to bow to you. It's supposed to be the other way around. And so this has been a very big problem for society, and it's ruined the vast majority of relationships. I love how you talked about the queen being more about self-authority rather than ruling the kingdom, uh, you know in that same way that we think of with the king. And it brought me, here's kind of where I was headed with it, that when I was doing my work and I was working specifically with women, and I was spouting that women needed to take over the world so that it could be okay, and men were responsible for everything wrong in the world. And then my dream was that a man would come along and support me in my work, and support my work and get behind it and give it some engine, some power behind it. And it really wasn't until 2015, when my dad died, that I realized how absolutely backward that was. And I was able to manifest a man who came to support my work. He would actually take a stack of books out. He was a good sales guy, and he would go and sell them and come back with a bag of money, or not a bag, something like this. And then he would do my bidding. And I remember at one point going, oh yeah, if I just didn't have to spend so much time looking after our place, then I could have a closer relationship with you. Oh, well, then he's doing the vacuuming, and he's getting everything. And all of that, me controlling and manipulating him, really just eroded the relationship, because the polarity was gone. And here he was giving me everything I thought I wanted, and it was dissolving the relationship and my respect for him, which is tragic and awful. So that was a really good lesson. And so the way I came to see the queen is more of an alchemist. So
Mm-hmm.
in that family of archetypes that I call the hero's journey, that as I've conceived of it inside my own self, knowing there's different versions of it, not dramatically so. There are common elements you can see in a lot of different way people have conceived of that, but that the queen is not, again, in the king category. There are all kinds of archetypes that will fall in the king, but the queen is not one of them. Now the alchemist follows the king. You know that already. You read my book. And then if anyone doesn't know, they are an order. They are like a natural evolution through certain stages, fast or slow, in a lot of different ways. But so the role of the alchemist is to turn around and to counsel the king, to be a support to the king, right? I had it exactly opposite. When I wanted a king to come and support my work, it was exactly wrong. That it really would have been the other way around. If I attracted a king, then I would have been there for him. Why? So that he can properly rule the
Well,
people and hold the responsibility of all of that.
I'll finish your thought, and then I want to add something to that.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, there, I have a fairy tale that I was going to maybe share, but that kind of hits at this, because it's not black and white. You know, there's support and then there's support. You know, a man can support you not as a servant, like what you've described. It can actually support you in your soul's journey here. Supporting the queen is very different than supporting, you know, the princess, you know, who's like the prince trying to get her kingdom together. You know, there's many different, it's not that black and white. At least I don't see it as that. Yeah. Also, you know, like the sexuality that we have, what you were talking about, the whole sexual freedom and people just putting that out there. It's more like women have taken on more of kind of a masculine sexuality, you know, going out there to find sexual pleasure just for the pleasure of itself, without the, you know, the rest of the packaging. But I just want to get back to what you were saying about the support. Do you have anything else to say about that? I'm going to let that sit for a moment.
Yeah. It's an interesting, it's beautiful because it presents some kind of paradox in that the way I end up seeing it is in this masculine feminine, where you really can't have one without the other. It's just it's going to happen. It's going to present. And so, you know, if a woman devotes herself to supporting a man, the man wants to care for that woman. The man's gonna, you know, especially say in a really traditional context, that the woman has the man's child and makes themselves entirely vulnerable and somewhat helpless, you know, to carry all her own things and the baby and make the living and all of those things, which is actually pretty normal these days, and especially the frequency of single parenthood. It's, you know, it's completely disnatured, and then so there's a natural circle of support that takes place, and the, you know, men care in different ways for women than women will care for the man. But if you over care for a man, you're also going to blow the polarity in that situation. So I don't know if that jogs what you were wanting to say. And hello, JJ Hempcrete Bear, nice to see you.
Oh, are there any men out there? Or is it all mostly?
I think JJ is a man. I'm seeing his man picture, and I quietly content bear kind of sounds like a woman. I think that's how a woman would, and then that's all the people that have identified themselves. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, well, the fairy tale that I wanted to share kind of carries some of that paradox, which is because now a lot of stuff that's being taught about polarity, it's kind of almost, you know, like, oh yeah, if you're going to support, well then you support the man's career, which, you know, I very strong feelings about that, but I'm now seeing that there's a lot more layers to that scenario from the queen's point of view. You know, that from the queen's point of view, she can be doing her thing just as much as the king, as long as she knows who's who when they close the door in their bedroom. As long as she's, but if she's, you know, you could have a more feminine occupation or mission. You know, you don't have to have the same kind of I think that may be one of the things, is that women who are happier are the ones who have a mission that's more in alignment with who they are as a female, as a queen, as a whatever you want to call it. I'm just thinking of, again, I always think of my mother and my father. It's so interesting that my father definitely supported my mother, and the way he supported her, she was a physician, he was an engineer, and the way that he supported her is that he absolutely treated her like his hot woman. And no matter what she did, you know, she was the boss of her department, and she supported him by responding to him as her number one, um, what should we call him? Lover, male, king, whatever. You know, even if he didn't step up to his full king, she still gave him that treatment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, which is a kind of a generous thing to do. Just like a man, if a woman is not fully really opening to him, he can still give her that benefit of the doubt and do whatever to create that opening. But I mean, it's, you know, it's not just being open forever, it's both. It's the capacity to do both, to open and to close, but to know when you're doing it. So like, same with all the archetypes, you could be really closed inside an archetype, or you could be open in it. You know, it could be like this dark little secret that you just, you know, is hidden somewhere, or it could be something that you really enjoy living and sharing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I've been taking in a lot of Hoe Math on YouTube, HOE_MATH, and he's a Hoe Math, and Hoe stands for whore, by the way. So it's born of his bitterness towards the whole degradation of society, especially as sourced in that male female relationship and what's happening and happened to the dating world, and how the dating pool got completely ruined and contaminated, and it turned, it's actually a super good education in psychology. This I can recommend. He's smart, and he's going off of Ken Wilber's work, which is accessing a lot of he doesn't call it archetypes, but like levels and developmental stages. And one of the big things that he'll put out that will cause a man to, will cause the king to embrace the king, the queen, is what you just said, like this devotion and exclusivity, that she's not keeping her options open, and has all of this guy in the wings and that guy in the wings and all these choices, and there's nothing compelling her. She's getting her needs met through a variety of paid and unpaid services, and then she thinks, well, I have everything. That's one of his videos. Well, I have everything, this woman says, but she has no boyfriend. And this is kind of what's gone by the wayside. And then the sexual revolution that made it okay for a woman to go and have many, many partners with no sense of procreating or marrying, or establishing a family, could be lineage for the future too, right? Like, it's not just this lifetime, and all of that. So that's been a really awakening. I do recommend. I think it was my friend Michelle in the House of Free Will that found it. It's been, I really should have seen that about 40 years ago. I should, but and so yeah, it's really important. I'm just awakening to how badly duped everybody was around that. And it been flashing through my eyes of different people in my life, and maybe their Instagram, or maybe their how they argued why it was okay to go off and have a wild affair with three men while their husband is at home, and that he would just take her back because she's the queen and can get away with all of this kind of childish behavior, or even abusive behavior in some ways, and how powerful that was. And these were the empowered women, and it's the revolution and the goddesses, and women have the power, and we're the smart ones, and we're the everything. And in the end, it's really left, it's honestly, it has raped society of its energy. I think we are really seeing the fallout of all of that kind of stuff that was just so, I went to my Instagram. I literally searched every account that had the word goddess in, and I unfollowed, unfollow. It has harmed us. And one of the ways that I also saw, this is flipping. Do you want to say anything about that before I flip subjects?
Oh, you're going to flip. Let's see. Something about the. Oh, well, what you're describing in a way, it's always been that way. It's just that we have gotten so much more adept at labeling things, deviant and not deviant, and good and bad, and we have a lot more, and laws are involved in it too. But if you think way back, I mean, certainly in my ancestors, yeah, women had affairs. Yeah, men had affairs. Things happened, but somehow the children kept being made, whether it was the child with the mistress, and it wasn't fun or any, there was sorrow and strife involved. In my own family, my grandfather ended up divorcing his wife. They survived the Holocaust. He divorced his wife. He married his mistress, but my grandmother insisted on living. He said, "I'll give you she said, "I'll give you a divorce only if you let me live with you and your new wife." And he did, and she did, and they did until they all passed away.
Wow.
So how do I say this in words? In a way, in our modern world, everything is kind of blown out into this, like, oh, this is toxic. This is toxic behavior, and this is toxic behavior. And women were just as much, giving away their sexuality as men were in the past. But in a way, they were probably having a lot more pleasure from it. Whatever affairs were had then, people were still closer to their native polarity. But nowadays, it's not even that. It's not mythic anymore. It's more just like, oh yeah, I had sex with her and him. And so I'm just saying that this is something that, whatever we are as humans, it's been around, this kind of drama, but it never stopped the procreating aspect on such a mass level as it is now that I'm seeing. And the younger people are really just being born into that neutralized, diluted world where the distinctions between that, they're being praised for not distinguishing themselves as a boy or as a girl. They're being praised for these new things that it's really, that's not to say that, back in 1722, there was a lad who was naturally more effeminate, and that's how he lived his life. And it wasn't easy, I'm sure. But right now it comes with, I'm about to run out of power. Oh, here we go. So in a way, I don't want to look at it like it's anything new. It's just the way that, how we're viewing everything, our perception, that's what's causing, to me, I see, is the bigger suffering, is how we're perceiving things now. Because when men had affairs back then, or women, I'm sure they were incredibly memorable, something that lasted a lifetime, if you had some amazing affair with someone. And in Ireland, they even had a special thing where if you were married and you fell in love with someone outside of the marriage, you were given a year to live it out with that person. They even had it was like a law, and I was like, well, that's the height of civilization, that where it's not shunned and looked down upon. But those people were still having children. So anyway, that's
Right.
my
Yeah, it's possible. I can't go too far in this because I don't have a super lot of knowledge, but it's possible that those were the seeds of the devastation. Like that back then, it wasn't. It's kind of like the people who would consume the wrong foods in those days. Their liver had enough health in it to be able to deal with the fallout, whereas you get to us and it doesn't.
right.
It's like several generations of damage. So that's where I see, I know, like, and this was part of the fueling of this sexual revolution, that, oh, like in Europe, they would have, the man would have the wife and the mistress, and it was all copacetic and everybody agreed. And then, so but I'm just positing. I don't know. The lights are going on for me right now. Where we find ourselves, and the whole world of debauchery that got equal to freedom in some people's eyes. I'm not saying you, but that, freedom, especially say like the rebels' freedom was, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And this doing whatever you want to do is not good for society. It's not good for the children. It's not good for the family. It's not good for your legacy. Like I've achieved a life where I can do whatever I want to do. But that's not like a proud thing that I run around and like, yay, I got the prize. It's like, no, I don't have it. I don't have, but now what am I going to do with that
Mhm.
freedom that could be a good legacy? So here's just a interesting example. I was talking to my friend Paul. Shout out to Paul if he ever was to hear this, and he helps to run the Soulshine Festival that just completed. And he has a very strong will or desire, whatever you want to call it, to make it a sober festival where there's no drugs and no alcohol. So he was asking my opinion. What do you think of this? And it's a kind of can of worms, and there's a lot of nuances. It's like, where do you stop? So people can't drink coffee, people can't take niacin or any mind altering kind of substance, or dancing it can make you drunk. And so that's more the approach that I was taking. But I'm really talking from a past, much more past version of myself. And then I had my son and his friend for supper yesterday, which was amazing. And I decided to ask them what. So my friend is wanting to make a festival that has absolutely zero, totally sober festival. What do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And I'm like, whoa, that's fantastic. That it might actually be, maybe we're coming finally to the flip where sobriety is valued over the freedom of like, I can have any state I want. I can have any feeling I want. I can have any job that I want. I can be a man. I can be a woman. I can be a king. I can be a queen. I can, this kind of a thing. But it was just really beautiful to see them volunteer this. Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing if it was, you didn't have to think about the drunk or the person that's too high and being a goof and having to feel uncomfortable around that. And
So what was he saying, that not even niacin and not even
oh no, that was my
you're saying, okay, so you're talking about just like alcohol, drugs, and stimulants or whatever. Yeah, I think that's sounds great.
right,
I'm,
right,
I'm for it too. Well, and that's what how you start a movement. you know,
right.
so make it cool to be sober, make it cool to be present. So, and instead of yeah.
The other way around. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Bertari, I was watching a little bit in some of the scenes going on there, and that's a sober festival. That's great. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all of the extremes end up coming back, right? The having pushed, if that was pushed and engineered, which I really believe and feel that it was. Everything in the media, we could probably, I'm not really good at movies or scenes or films or anything that rely on you a little bit, but all of those, the ways that it promoted this debauchery that I can do anything that I want to. And it's, if I'm not hurting it's actually satanic. Do what thou wilt.
Hmm.
Right. That's Anton LaVey, I believe.
Yeah, and here's the distinction though. um like when you're in the queen or the king energy and you are with someone, right? And yes, you can do what you want, because it's it's a very different dance than engaging unwilling participants and just willy-nilly, that kind of freedom. It's a freedom um, that yeah, like Orson Welles says, the greatest enemy of art is the lack of limitation. We do need to put certain limits which make life and polarity possible.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if, I don't want to be with a man who feels like he's completely free to express every feeling that he's going through. I no, I don't. And then of course I would be told by psychologists like, well, that's very judgmental of you. Are you saying that men can't have feelings? I'm like, no, they can have feelings, but just, if you're learn how to discipline yourself, you could have tears pouring down your face and be present with it at the king level, or you could be, at a like, I'm free and I can do whatever I want, and just expurgating it all. Again, that's the difference between feeling and emoting.
Hmm.
And same thing for a woman. It's almost like the opposite of the male. That to have to use your ability to not have so much control, to not be stiff upper lip, and intellectually responding and listening to everything that's said and going, yeah, oh yeah, that makes sense, instead of just in the moment when something moves you, or if something is very hurtful, that you show it,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
you let your tears fall, that you're not trying to be this tough um, king.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Another level of drunkenness. I think I'm repeating myself there, but on the feeling side, we really get drunk on our feelings. The lover archetype in particular is one that will indulge in that and consume it and get stuck in the feelings rather than having them be something to move through or the map to find the freedom. And so yeah, within the container of, say, like the perfect match between the king and the queen, it's got its parameters, right? That the queen is with that king, the king is with that queen, and then within it there's great freedom. Like there's great potential expression. Maybe I'm even using the word wrong there if I'm trying to make any point about that, but even more so, it's kind of like it's the perfect masculine feminine, because you've got the container, which is the masculine, that creates the boundaries or the limitations, and within that the feminine can be completely organic, and some people will call that chaotic, but the not harmful version of chaotic, where it's unexpected growth and expression.
Well, think of it like the water, if you just water, it can spill everywhere. But if you have a still present masculine energy, dig some beautiful ravines, and then the water flows beautifully through the ravines. And then the water gets to feel herself instead of just, here I am. But inside that, there is I mean, to me, that's like such a, that just feels like a beautiful truth for me personally. This is just for me, that I have that vision of, that beautiful dug up ravine, and that I get to flow in that and be able to give the gift um, of the flow of feeling, which is kind of amazing. I mean, you can tell, certain when some woman walks into a room, you can feel it changes the energy if she comes in with that flow, which isn't seductive. It's not about like, oh, how many men can I get, but it's a I'm sure it has a name, but I don't have a name for
That's all right.
it. Yeah.
Well, this has been an interesting conversation. Anything more that you can think of around this queen energy?
Well, let me think. That I actually did write some things down. Um,
Yeah, we didn't go super deep into in terms of like portrayal of the queen. The wicked queen, right, is a very classic
right.
figure.
The wicked queen, the commanding queen, the oblivious queen, the pampered queen. Oh, we have so many. That word has just been, need to reclaim that word. I'm
Mhm.
just thinking, if I really wanted to, I'm thinking about this fairy tale. Have you ever heard of the fairy tale of the wedding of Sir Gawain and Lady Ragnell?
Heard of, yeah.
Oh, you've heard of it. Okay, so you know it. Okay, okay. I just thought that to me captures the whole paradox of it's just got so many layers teachings in there about aging, about beauty, about that one thing that women truly want. Um,
Do you want to tell the story for anyone who might not know it? It's always
yeah. I mean, it'll take a minute, but I don't know. It might be worth it.
yeah.
It'd be, yeah. So,
Right.
okay. This is the story of King Arthur, who, okay, hold on. I did have some notes on it just so I have it in front of me in case I forget a part of the story. Okay, so, um, oh, now I've lost you. Where do I find you? Uh, I've
I'm
lost the.
I'm still here.
Oh, you're still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just made your picture big. So.
Okay, there you are. Okay, I'm back. So King Arthur goes into the woods because he's going hunting with a bunch of guys, and he sees a beautiful white doe, and he's like, "Guys, stay behind. I'm gonna go get this. I'm gonna kill this doe." And he goes into the woods with his last arrow. He shoots the doe, and the moment the doe falls down, a dark, scary figure comes out of the woods, and he's an angry knight, and he knows King Arthur, and he's like, "Okay, King Arthur, you've gone too far. I'm going to cut off your head." And King Arthur is like, well, that wouldn't be honorable. He tries to shame him. He says, I'm an unarmed man. Look at you with your big axe. And he's like, the angry knight is like, "Okay, you can't shame me or cancel me, but I am an honorable man, so I'm not going to kill you. Um, I will give you a year and a day. If you can answer this riddle, then you will get to keep your head. But if not, you're a dead man." And the King Arthur's like, "Okay, so yeah, sure, I can do that. What's the riddle?" And the knight says, uh, "You have to answer me the question, what is it above all else that women truly desire?" And King Arthur's like, "Oh shit, now I know I'm in trouble because I know women, I've been with them, I've seen them, I appreciate them, I like them, but um, I don't really understand them or know them." So King Arthur is like, "Okay, I'll be back in a year and a day." And he goes back to the castle, and he's really depressed because he's like, "I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know. What do I do?" So he tells his nephew, Sir Gawain, he's like, I got a problem. I mean, I'm going to die in a year and a day if I don't answer this riddle. And Sir Gawain says, "What's the problem? Come on, let's just go. We'll travel to different countries. We'll ask every person we meet the answer to this question." And so the king is like, "Okay, let's do it." And they travel around the country. They ask every person, and they give them all kinds of answers. But King Arthur can feel like, I don't think they're hitting it. I don't think women just want a strong, handsome man, or women just, want to be adorned, full of riches. And he's kind of feeling hopeless. So he goes back to the woods, and he's like, maybe if I'm in the woods, I can think clearer and I'll understand, and maybe I'll finally get what it is. And so he goes into the woods, and this woman comes out of the forest. She's a woman, she's a lady, but she is terrifying looking. She is on a horse, and she is got like scraggly hair, a huge gaping mouth with yellow long teeth, and her nose, if you could call it a nose, is runny, and she's got like this always a postnasal drip. She's just a mess, and her eyes are beady and deep in her head, almost like a skull. And she's got beautiful jewelry and expensive clothes, so she's got some kind of royalty something, but she is a terrifying looking hag. And of course, King Arthur, being a gentleman, he's like, "Good afternoon, lady." And she's like, "So, King Arthur, I hear you've been," and he's surprised by the tone of her voice, because her voice is very pleasant. It's not like, ah. So she says, "I hear you've been going to different countries trying to get the answer to this question. And I'm telling you, none of those people know shit. I'm the only one who knows the answer. And your life is in my hands. I can give you that answer." And he's like, "Well, give it to me." She's like, well, wait a second now. one thing you have to do is there's a little something attached here. I'll give it to you if you do something for me. And he's like, okay, what? Name it, name it. If I can, I'll do it. And she's like, well, there's a certain knight, Sir Gawain. Um, I want to wed him, and once I wed him, if you tell me I can wed him, then I'll give you the answer. And he's like, oh no, no, sorry, can't do that. I mean, no, that's my nephew. I no, sorry. So he leaves, but he turns around and says, excuse me, by the way, what is your name? And she says it's Lady Ragnell. So he goes home and he's like, okay, it's now a year and a day already. And he's like, okay, I guess I better take care of my will, take care of the things, because I'm gonna die today. And his nephew sees him and he's like, what's the matter? You look terribly depressed. And so King Arthur says, look, I met this woman and she said she could give me the answer to the question, but he doesn't tell him the full truth. He says, well, but I have to provide a husband for her. And Sir Gawain, being the enthusiastic young man, says, well, what the hell? I'll marry her. I'll marry her twice. I'll marry her 3 times. I mean, what kind of a guy would I be? I mean, you're my friend and my king. I will do anything to save your life. I would be just a cowardly fool if I didn't do that. So King Arthur is like, oh, okay, I guess he's gonna do it. So he rushes over to the forest, hoping that she's still there, and of course she is. And he says, okay, he's yours. You can have the wedding. But now give me the goods, because I don't have much time. I gotta meet the guy in a few minutes there. And she's like, okay, so I trust you. You're a man of honor. So I will tell you. Now get ready to find out what it is that all women desire most above all. And he's like, come on, just tell me. He says, what women desire above all is sovereignty. And King Arthur's like, what? He's like, okay, well, that's the answer. He's like, yes, that is the answer. He's like, okay, well, thank you. I got to run. I'll be back. And he runs over to where the angry knight is waiting for him, a year and a day. And the angry knight is there with his sword going, okay, get ready to part with your head, King Arthur. And King Arthur is like, okay, well, let me give you some answers. And instead of giving her answer, he gives him some of the old answers, because he's still trying to save Sir Gawain's life and not have him to have to marry this woman. So, of course, the angry knight is like, that's wrong, you're an idiot, So finally the king is like, okay, I have one more answer. And the angry knight, okay, give it to me. So he says, okay, what women desire most is sovereignty. And then the angry knight really gets angry, because he's like, God damn it, who gave you that? Only my bitch of a sister must have given you that, because nobody else knows. I hope she burns in hell. All right, get the hell out of here. You're free to go. So King Arthur runs back on his horse to Lady Ragnell, and he has to take her back to the castle for the wedding. And he says, okay, so we'll have a lovely morning wedding, because then, of course, there will be no guests, and he's going to try to save his nephew some humiliation of being married to this hag. And so, but she's like, no, 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 King Arthur, no, 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 I'm not gonna. That's not me. I'm gonna have a full out wedding, no secretive little. No, we're having a big banquet and the whole deal. So he's like, okay. So he brings her to the castle, and the wedding is right that afternoon, and they have the wedding. And after the wedding, they're having a banquet, and she's watching Sir Gawain to see if there's any, look of disgust on his face, or if he's like acting like he's ignoring her, or if he's just pretending. And no, he's actually acting like he's cherishing his new bride. So then that night, they're in their chamber, the wedding chamber, and she says to him, well, now that we're in this chamber, I would like for you to give me a kiss, because I know if I was fair, you would be really rushing to do this, but I ask you now, O courteous knight, to kiss me now. And he, believe it or not, he's an amazing guy. He's like, yeah, of course, yes, of course, I'll even do more than that after the kiss. And he comes, speeds up to her, and then he's like, wow. He can't believe his eyes, because he's not looking at the same scary hag. He's looking at the most exquisite, beautiful creature he has ever seen. And he is confused, but he's like, what, what, who? And she says, well, there's something I have to tell you about me. And he says, well, I must not be in my right mind. What, I thought you, just a moment ago, you were this hideous creature. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but you really were quite terrifying looking. And she says, well, there was a spell put on me. And she has to hold him off a little bit, because he's like wanting to embrace her. She's like, hold on, I have to tell you the whole truth. And the spell made it so that by night, I am as you see me, beautiful and fair. But by day, I am back to being this hideous creature that you married. So now you have to make a choice, because the spell will not allow me. I can only be one or the other. I can be beautiful by night and hideous by day, or I can be hideous at night and beautiful by day. You have to choose which you'd like. And so now, if there's any men out there, what would you choose and why? What would you choose? Would you choose hideous by day and beautiful by night, or the other way around? So you can even type that in if that occurs to you. So let me tell you what Gawain did. He said, well, and he hardly even broke a sweat, but he's like, okay, well, this is a hard one. This is a really hard one, because if you were beautiful by night, I mean, but during the day, I'd have to see you like that. I don't know. That would be tough. But and the other way around, it would be tough too. So you know what? I'm gonna leave it up to you. You decide. You make the decision which you will be by day or by night. And then she swoons the swoon of centuries, because she's been waiting for this moment, and the pleasure of her swoon echoes through all time. And she said, well, I don't know what I did to be so lucky. I'm so glad that it is you who I married. You are the knights of all knights that I most respect and adore, because you have broken the spell. You have given me the choice to do as I wish, and you have given me your great gift, is to give the gift of sovereignty. And so and she says, Sir Gawain, you may kiss me now. And he's like, no problem there. Anyway, that's the story.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Because your mind might not even go there as a possibility. It's presented like there's two options. The man chooses the beauty by day or beauty by night, and it's just like ooh. Both of them have some hard things about them. Greg said he would run, so that's great to hear from somebody. Just run, just get out of there. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Third option even.
And it's interesting though that in order to get to the point where they got, it had to be a man who was willing to be fully with that ugliness and with the terrifyingness of that, because I think I said this last week, that one of my teachers said that for a man to walk into the feminine is like a man blindfolded going into a jungle where every tree is nothing but a razor blade, and he's on stilts walking through the jungle. That so that he was able to just be with that he had enough inner discipline for a young knight, that he then got, he reaped the reward of breaking that spell. And it's so interesting. Now I know some feminists could say, yeah, but who's the man to give her sovereignty? He's still giving it to her. And I'm like,
Even
no.
on the spell, she didn't have sovereignty. She
Yeah,
couldn't break her own spell, but
yeah,
he could.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, there's so many parallels to how we are now.
Exactly. Yeah. What a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for allowing me.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we could unpack that for a while, but sometimes it's nice to just let things sink in and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To just
yeah.
like think about, and also just the beginning with the dough. I mean, there's something about, I mean, King Arthur was right there. He went for going the straight path, like, I'm getting this thing. And then it ended up, if all the characters are one, he's an aspect of Gawain, Gawain is an aspect of him. And then the way that the spell was broken, the circular way, and how the angry knight was a part of it. He pushed the whole thing, he created a pressure that sometimes if we don't have the limit or the pressure of something, we won't do anything. We'll just sit around, be comfortable.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And it won't press you to that place of finding the way to break the spell, not just like to solve your
Yeah,
individual need, like, well, I have a need to be seen with a beautiful woman, or I have a need to spend a night with a beautiful woman, right? Like that's as far as, and I think that's where we get trapped a lot, and where we've been trapped is, and that's how some people parent. I know I tried this for a while, like you just give these two options as if they're the only two options, and then it's such a beautiful demonstration of going off the map to find
yeah.
freedom. Yeah.
Going off the map. That's a good title for your memoir.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah.
Going off the map, or
Hmm.
just off the map.
Totally. Yeah. Well, you guys, I wonder if we've accomplished what we came here to do or undo, and yeah, exactly. Peace out. Thanks, Greg, for chiming in. That's actually really fun. He says he's from the Mystic, and that sounds like magic.
Ooh.
Yeah, interesting. There's some damaged words right there. Yeah, yeah, a lot of fun. So, should we leave it completely in the unknown? What next week holds?
Maybe we can get into some, like, just some practical practices for daily living that women can do to activate more of the pace and the texture of the queen, because it's all in us all the time. But it's nice to have some things that we can actually do, you know, or
Right.
different ways of doing what we do every day.
Hmm. So you want to do a queen part two?
Yeah, or maybe queen embodiment, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure you're really good with those titles. You're gonna come up with something.
And it sounds more like a workshop we could do.
Oh, yeah, I guess it would be a live workshop.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll talk about that. Yeah, that sounds more like a workshop.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else could we get into?
That's okay. We don't need to force it in this moment if it didn't come naturally. But we knew, this did come about naturally in the last one that we had. And so we'll be back again next Friday. It's going to be consistently now at 3 p.m. Central Time. So sort of switch it up and be the wild feminine around here. But it suited us both better to be able to do that. So we'll be back with you 5+7 is 12, September 12th. That will be the day after September 11th, which is an interesting day in our world now. I'm actually going to be interviewing Danny Katz. So she's big on words, like you're aware of, and or is that you
Yeah,
talking about
that-
Danny?
that-
Yeah, you're
yeah.
asking about her.
Oh, that's what we didn't talk about. I was
What?
t- One of my thoughts about the queen was that the queen energy has to have her mermaids,
Mm,
inner mermaids. And I was just breaking down the word mer, ocean, maid, helper, guide, that the queen needs the mermaids to do the deep diving into the waters and to, just a whole different view of repositioning mermaids and the depths of the unknown, the watery feminine.
Yeah, exactly. And is there anything you want to say about that now? I don't mind at all.
Mm, no, no, I'm good. I feel like I still want to sit with Lady Ragnell a little more.
Yeah, that was so sweet. Thank you. You're a beautiful storyteller. Storyteller.
I did modernize it a little bit.
That's good. That's good. I don't like it when people try to mimic some other thing, some style or some era or anything like that. That's boring. But it was very alive and organic the way you told it.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, yeah. I want to sit with that some more. I mean, I always keep coming back to this story. Every time I even tell it to myself, I'm always like, wow, it's just so paradoxical, you know, because you think like sovereignty. Damn, that's some
Mhm.
strong shit. Is that feminine? but it,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but it is. It is.
Yeah, and another again weaponized thing, right? Like this was the big buzzword for the last since 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, we're sovereign, and the interesting thing, like that word, just to pick on that word, it actually means to reign over. It
To
is not
reign over.
to reign over.
Mm,
So that's why the response, say in law, is like, no, you're not sovereign. You don't reign over anybody.
mm, hmm.
What they mean to say, I think, is that we have free will and that needs to be respected. So don't force us,
Uh-huh.
you know. And so then this expression of free will, that would be another really good one to get into at some point. But yeah, so it's interesting the
Well,
use of that word. Yeah.
and also just to me the word reign, I like I would say more that it's a queen reigns, Rains. That's more of the closer to the quality. um
The queen's reign as opposed to the king's reign.
yeah, yeah, that it's actual rain, that it's the water, the rain, that and that feeling when you walk outside and suddenly an unexpected rain happens. So in a way, to me, that's the queen's face, is the one that happens when an unexpected rain falls on you and you're like, and it's um there's a very specific kind of aliveness. So maybe I'm just gonna that would be a really good title for something: the queen's reign, Rain.
Nice. Yeah, that would be definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, and there is something like when the queen surrenders to the container of the king, and then he gives her freedom, free will. I use that word. I'm using that word wrong, but he gives her free will of choice. Then it's like this grace. But had she been the one to choose and demand that choice and force the choice and strong arm the king to get there, then it would have been entirely void of the magic that
Yes,
Greg
yes.
mentioned, right?
And that's the thing for both for queen, for the woman and the man, that we it's like earning it, just like a woman and a man too earns that. It you inspire it, which is very different and a lot more self-confronting, and you have to change. You do have to crack yourself open. You can't be committed to your armor. you know
Right.
you have to recognize somehow that the armor is not making you stronger, that the real strength is underneath the armor.
Hmm.
That's where the true feminine power is, when the armor is gone.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
then that wrestling match of just getting what we want, maybe back to the talking about, the fall of society and the debauchery and the fall of the Roman Empire, again, same kind of, the orgies of Rome and all of that kind of thing. And when we use if we use the word sovereignty, if we try to impose that, if we try to grab it and try to get it and force it to happen, it makes it more and more impossible because we haven't broken the spell. That's part of the spell that keeps us like trying to, that the man would try to serve themselves and get what they need, and then that woman was, sounded like, oh, I need this, I need that husband, and what they both need is for the spell to break.
Yeah. Wow.
I got shivers on my legs right now.
Yeah. Unless they were on my arms. We got the arms and the legs going. Okay, good.
So fun. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do a lot of justice to a tale. Thank you again.
My pleasure.
Yeah, very informing. All right, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your now soon to be weekend any second, and we shall see you again next week, and I'll keep you posted. If you haven't been to Dagmar's YouTube channel, then you can find it at this link. I'll drop it in the chat. That's one of the ways to get to know her better and what she's got on her channel there. I owe you the videos to upload as well from this podcast. It's on my radar.
Okay.
And
you can watch my one-woman show called Loose Underwear.
Right. Yes, very entertaining and deep and profound at the same time, and quite remarkable at the same time. I find it to be so beautiful how you can move fluidly between voices and multiple characters, that you're portraying everyone. So yeah, it's quite a work.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. And
Okay.
if anyone would like to connect with me, bethmartins.com is the best place to do that. You can sign up for one of my free gifts, which could be a King Hero Archetype quiz to find out where you are on this path of purpose, so that you could potentially get off the map. And then also there is a free gift on busting Ascension myths. Ascension was on our list actually, to in the whole guru, the cults that we've been in. That's one we were going to go deep into. I don't know if any of that.
Yeah, we were. Hey, are you still open for accepting more people coming into your program, or is that still open?
Why do you ask?
I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, actually, no.
Okay.
Yeah. But thanks for asking. All right, my dears, have a beautiful rest of your day, and we shall see you soon.
Okay. Arrivederci.
Bye for now.